Introduction to Principle of Management Part 2. Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Strategy. Learning objectives. Number 1. Know the rules and importance of leadership, entrepreneurship, and strategy in Principle of Management. Number 2. Understand how leadership, entrepreneurship, and strategy are interrelated. The principles of management are drawn from a number of academics fields, principally the fields of leadership, entrepreneurship, and strategy. Leadership, if management is defined as getting things done through others, then leadership should be defined as the social and informal sources of influence that you use to inspire action taken by others. It means mobilizing others to want to struggle toward a common goal. Great leader help build an organization human capital, then motivate individual to take concerned action. Leadership also includes an understanding of when, where, and how to use more informal sources of authority and power, such as position or ownership. Increasingly, we live in a world where good management requires good leaders and leadership. While these views about the importance of leadership are not new, see views on managers versus leaders. Competition among employers and countries for the best and brightest. Increased labor mobility. Think war for talent here. And hyper competition puts pressure on to firms invest in present and future leadership capabilities. P&G provides a very current example of this shift and emphasizes to leadership as a key principle management. For example, P&G recruits and promotes those individuals who demonstrate success through influence rather than direct or coercive authority. Internally, there has been a change from managers being outspoken and needing to direct their staff to being individuals who electrify and inspire those around them. Good leaders and leadership at P&G used to imply having followers, whereas in today's society, good leaders means followership and bringing out the best in your peers. This is one of the key reasons that P&G has been consistently ranked among the top 10 most admired companies in the United States for the last 3 years. According to Future Magazine, whereas P&G has been around for some 170 years, another winning firm in terms of leadership is Google, which has only been around for little more than a decade. Both firms emphasize leadership in terms of being exceptional at developing people. Google has topped Fortune's 100 best companies to work for the past 2 years. Google's founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page built a company around the idea that work should be challenging and the challenge should be fun. Google's culture is probably unlike any corporate America, and it's not because of the ubiquitous lava lamps throughout the company's headquarters or that the company chef used to cook for the Grateful Dead. In the same way Google puts user first when it's come to online service, Google imposes that it puts employee first when it's come to daily life in all its offices. There is an emphasis on team achievements and pride in individual accomplishment that contribute to the company's overall success. Ideas are tried, tested, and put into practice with swiftness that can be dicing overseer and employees know to meeting that would take hours elsewhere are frequently little more than a conversation in line for lunch, and few walls separate those who write the code from those who write the check. This highly communicate environment fosters a productivity and camaraderie foiled by the realization that millions of people rely on Google results. Leadership at Google amounts to a deep belief that if you give the proper tools to a group of people who like to make a difference, they will. View on a manager versus leader. My definition of a leader is a man who can foresee people to do what they don't want to do or do what they're too lazy to do and like it. Harry S. Truman, 1884 to 1972, 33rd President of the United States. You cannot manage men into battle. You manage things, you lead people. Grace Hopper, 1906 to 1992. Admire U.S. Navy managers have subordinates, leaders have followers. Chester Bernard, 1886 to 1961, former executive and author of Function of the Executive. The first job of a leader is to define a vision for the organization. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Warren Venice, 1925, author, a leadership scholar. A manager takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go but out to. Rosalind Carter, 1927, First Lady of the United States, 1977 to 1981. Entrepreneurship. It's fitting that this section on entrepreneurship followed the discussion of Google. Entrepreneurship is defined as the recognition of opportunities, needs, wants, problems, and challenges, and the use or creation of resources to implement innovative ideas for new, thoughtfully planned ventures. Perhaps this is obvious, but an entrepreneur is a person who engages in the process of entrepreneurship. We describe entrepreneurship as a process because it often involves more than simply coming up with a good idea. Someone also has to convert that idea into action. As an example of both, Google's leader suggests that its point of distinction is anticipating needs not yet articulated by our global audience, then meeting them with products and services that set new standard. Things constant dissatisfaction with the way things are is ultimately the driving force behind the world's best search engine. Entrepreneurs and entrepreneurships are the catalysts for value creation. They identify and create new markets as well as foster change in existing ones. However, such value creation first require an opportunity, and the opportunity-driven nature of entrepreneurship is critical. Opportunities are typical characterized as problem in search of solution, and the best opportunities are big problems in search of big solution. The greater the inconsistencies in existing service and quality in lead times and in log times, the greater than vacuums and gaps in information and knowledge, the greater than opportunities. In other words, bigger problem will often mean there will be a bigger market for the product or service that the entrepreneur creates. We hope you can see why the problem-solving, opportunity-seeking nature of entrepreneurship is a fundamental building block for effective principles of management. Strategy. When an organization has a long-term purpose, articulate in clear goals and objectives, and these goals and objectives can be rolled up into a coherent plan of action, then we would say that the organization has a strategy. It has a good or even great strategy when this plan also takes advantage of unique resources and capabilities to exploit and big and growing external opportunity. Strategy then is the central integrate external oriented concept of how an organization will achieve its objectives. 5. Strategic management is the body of knowledge that answers questions about the development and implementation, because when correctly formulated and communicated, strategy provides leaders and employees with a clear set of guidelines for their daily action. This is principle of management you are learning about. Simply put, strategy is about making choice. What do I do today? What should I be doing? What should my organization be doing? What should it stop doing? Synchronizing leadership, entrepreneurship, and strategy. You know that the leadership, entrepreneurship, and strategy are the inspiration for important, valuable, and useful principle of management. Now you will want to understand how they might relate to one another. In terms of principle of management, you can think of leadership, entrepreneurship, and strategic management as answering questions about who, what, and how. Leadership helps you understand who helps lead the organization forward and what the critical characteristic of good leaderships might be. Entrepreneurial firms and entrepreneurs in general are fanatical about identifying opportunities and solving problems for any organization. Entrepreneurship answers big questions about what, an organization purpose and might be. Finally, strategic management aims to make sure that the right choices are made, especially that a good strategy is in place to exploit those big opportunities. One way to see how leadership, entrepreneurship, and in strategy come together for one organization and for you is through a recent disguised job posting from Craigslist. Look at the idea candidate characteristic identified in a help wanted ad. You don't have to look very closely to see that if you happen to be a recent business undergrad, then the organization defective in the ad is looking for you. The posting identifies as a number of areas of function expertise for the target candidate. You can imagine that this new position is pretty critical for the success of the business. For that reason, we hope you are not surprised to see that beyond function expertise, this business seeks someone with leadership, entrepreneurial, strategy, orientation, and skills. Now you have a better idea for what those key principles of management involve.